Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're stepping into a memory that no longer exists in the living world, a memory that feels like sunlight through broken glass, bright but forever unreachable. Imagine it, 18 children, the Brown legacy, spilling across couches, tumbling onto floors, a chaotic symphony of blonde and brown hair and laughter that once filled every corner of a home built on faith, ritual, and an unshakable sense of family. They weren't just siblings, they were a constellation, each child a star bound to the others by an invisible gravity, an unspoken promise of belonging. That laughter, the kind that echoes without effort, the kind that is pure, was the heartbeat of a dynasty. It was a fortress of love, resilience, and identity. But every fortress casts shadows, and even the most beautiful bonds can crack under the weight of secrets, favoritism, and unspoken resentment. Fast forward to today, and the echoes of that laughter have been replaced by the cold glare of screens. TikTok, podcasts, social media posts. Every platform a battlefield where the Brown children now wrestle with the legacy they inherited. Pedon, once a boy whose smile could light a room, stares at a camera with the steely resolve of a soldier, declaring a war against his own father's fourth wife, Robin. Gwendlin, seated in the clinical glow of a ring light, wields her words like scalpels, systematically dissecting the family's public image, episode by episode, clip by clip. The empire that once symbolized unity has become a theater of division, and the jury, us, is watching. The defendants are clear: Kody Brown and Robin, the orchestrators of a family's unraveling. The charges? Emotional abandonment, parental neglect, and the calculated dismantling of a once powerful polygamous family. The prosecution? Not lawyers, not briefs, not cross-examinations, but the children themselves. Those who grew up beneath the unblinking eye of TLC cameras, now stepping into the light to speak truths too long suppressed. There are no objections here, no motions to suppress evidence, no legal wrangling to obscure facts. Only raw, unfiltered testimonies, words heavy enough to shatter a legacy built over decades. And then, the first witness takes the stand, Pedon Brown. His testimony doesn't erupt like a storm. It lands like ice, precise, deliberate, chilling in its clarity. He speaks of boundaries crossed, of trust betrayed, of a family fractured from the inside. The young man who once looked to his father for guidance now speaks of having to sever ties entirely, declaring himself estranged from Robin in a calm voice that hides a lifetime of pain. Every word he utters is a verdict. He is no longer a participant in the fantasy his father and stepmother curated. The whispers from those who watch the family off-camera paint a darker, more intimate portrait. During the pandemic, isolated within their Flagstaff home, Kody and Robin's rigid rules clashed with Pedon's yearning for normalcy, a drive to see friends, maintain relationships, and live a life beyond surveillance. What began as a conversation spiraled into confrontation. Robin, according to insiders, interrogated Pedon not as a caring stepmother, but as a strategist, weaponizing tears and accusations with the precision of someone who had perfected manipulation over years, against Pedon's mother, Christine, and now against him. Pedon did not yield. He spoke back, naming the fractures he had witnessed, exposing the invisible leash Robin held over Kody, and pointing out the subtle tyrannies that had eroded the family from within. Voices rose, authority clashed with rebellion, and Kody, caught between the loyalty to his children and his devotion to Robin, allegedly chose his wife over the son he once nurtured. Pedon's words cut deeper than any scripted TV drama. You may have fooled him, but you don't fool any of us. We all see you for what you are. That moment, an excommunication disguised as confrontation, was the breaking point. And Pedon's testimony extends beyond Robin. He speaks of Kody's dereliction as a father, his favoritism toward Robin's children over the others, the birthdays missed, the graduations ignored, the calls unanswered. A father meant to lead, to shepherd, to protect all his children instead vanished from the lives of his eldest, leaving them to navigate a fractured legacy alone. For Pedon, who carries the discipline of the National Guard and the weight of his own moral compass, this was the ultimate betrayal, a spiritual and emotional abdication that reverberates through every corner of the Brown family empire. The stage is set, the evidence public, and the verdict yet unwritten. But one thing is clear. The family that once seemed untouchable now lies exposed, and the very children who were its heartbeat are wielding the gavel. The story deepens, and the courtroom of public opinion grows more intense. Pedon Brown isn't merely airing a grievance. He is pointing to a systemic collapse, a failure of leadership so profound it shakes the foundation of everything the Brown family once stood for. He views Kody's actions not simply as favoritism or personal betrayal, but as a dereliction of the sacred duty every father carries, the duty to nurture, protect, and equally guide all of his children. His public statements serve as a scathing indictment, and in the trial that the world is now witnessing, Pedon is the whistleblower, the voice of every child left in the shadows, emotionally alienated and forced to navigate a fractured household alone. If Pedon is the whistleblower, then the next witness, Gwendlin Brown-Carras, has stepped forward as the lead prosecutor, armed with the unflinching tools of modern testimony. A YouTube channel, a Patreon account, and a relentless refusal to censor herself. Her reaction videos aren't casual commentary. They are living, breathing exhibits in an ongoing court case, dissecting every gesture, every tear, every strategic smile, as if she is translating a secret, coded language that only the children could truly understand. Each episode, each clip, becomes a meticulous cross-examination of her family's public narrative, and her testimony is devastating precisely because it is rooted in the raw, unhealed wounds of personal betrayal. Disguised as witty, sarcastic analysis, Gwendlin isn't just describing what happened. She is exposing the scars left behind, one moment at a time. Exhibit A in her testimony is her relentless documentation of what she identifies as Robin's manipulative behaviors. Where others see a wife in tears, Gwendlin sees strategy, calculation, a performance engineered to shift the balance of power. She pauses the camera, looks directly at her audience, and punctuates the moment with a pointed remark. And here we go, the waterworks. Decoding what the cameras captured, but could not interpret. She highlights the patterns. Robin's emotional outbursts rarely arrive by accident, often coinciding with accountability for her own actions or moments when another wife, particularly Christine, receives even a sliver of Kody's attention. According to whispers from former production staff, the older children had even coined a code word during their teenage years for these orchestrated displays, pulling a Robin. It became shorthand for the carefully executed breakdowns designed to manipulate, to ensure Kody's immediate loyalty, and to leave everyone else looking like the aggressor. Through Gwendlin's lens, what once appeared as familial chaos now reads like a meticulously documented case of manipulation, favoritism, and emotional warfare, a damning narrative that unravels the carefully curated facade of the Brown family empire. The courtroom of public opinion widens as we turn the lens toward Gwendlin Brown-Carras, whose YouTube channel has become more than just a platform. It is the public unveiling of a decade-long, closely guarded sibling secret, a living chronicle of the patterns, manipulations, and betrayals that have quietly shaped the Brown family from within. Gwendlin doesn't just comment, she testifies. She exposes what she and her siblings came to recognize over the years as a calculated playbook, a system designed to control the family dynamic, marginalize the other wives, and consolidate Kody's attention, affection, and resources, both financial and emotional, toward Robin. And when the sarcasm in her voice fades, the real gravity of her account emerges, the raw, unvarnished pain of a daughter abandoned. She recounts moments when Kody raged at his older children for asserting independence or refusing to comply with his rigid CO rules, and she layers this with a devastating counter-narrative of her own experience. Years of absence, conversations never had, milestones ignored, and the quiet, suffocating sense that she and her siblings were an inconvenience, a burden, a footnote in a household increasingly devoted to another branch of the family. The infamous instance of Isabel's major back surgery becomes a touchstone, but Gwendlin pushes beyond the headlines, revealing the slow, creeping erosion of a father's presence, a neglect that began the day Robin entered the family and metastasized as they relocated to Flagstaff. Through her lens, Kody's image as a patriarch wronged by rebellious children crumbles. Instead, she frames the rebellion as a natural response to betrayal, a logical reaction to the emotional vacuum left by a father who showed up only selectively. And yet, her testimony does not stop at emotion. It extends into the ledger of resources, a quiet but relentless indictment of inequity. While careful with specifics, Gwendlin highlights the glaring disparities. Kody and Robin's spacious home contrasted against Christine's rented dwelling and Janelle's RV on undeveloped land, the conspicuous indulgences of Robin's children versus the careful budgeting demanded of the older siblings, the seemingly endless flow of luxury gifts, designer shopping trips, and private vacations that were conspicuously reserved for a select few. She questions the mechanisms behind it all, the allegedly secret bank accounts, the diverted TLC income, the defunct business expenses funneled to Robin's jewelry and fashion ventures, all while millions of dollars went through the hands of a family ostensibly meant to share everything equally. Her commentary is not gossip. It is sworn testimony, an exposé that gives voice to the simmering resentment and quiet observations of children long denied transparency. In doing so, Gwendlin transforms herself from a background figure into the chief litigator in this sprawling, emotional courtroom drama, delivering evidence that is personal, meticulous, and relentlessly damning. While Pedon strikes like a thunderclap, explosive and unflinching, Gwendlin crafts the slow burn case, the week-by-week courtroom narrative, revealing the architecture of neglect, manipulation, and favoritism that has defined the Brown family empire for more than a decade. And as we prepare to hear the testimony of our third witness, Milty Brown Pedon, we will see a subtler, yet equally piercing perspective, a diplomat amidst the chaos, offering insight in quiet but unassailable testimony. As the courtroom of public opinion grows ever more intense, we now turn our focus to Milty Brown Pedon, long regarded as the bridge between the fractured factions of the Brown family. For years, she was the one who maintained lines of communication, a mediator who stayed close to Robin even after her own mother's relationship with Kody had eroded. That position of trust and proximity gives her words extraordinary weight. When someone who once acted as a diplomat begins to publicly confirm deep-seated rifts and openly sides with her mother, it signals that the family's foundation is beyond repair. Milty's testimony is not shouted from a podium with anger. It is quiet, measured, and devastating in its certainty. She is the corroborating witness whose credibility is magnified precisely because of her initial reluctance to condemn, because she had every reason to defend the household she grew up in. Her allegiance is clear, pro-CHR Christine, but in the zero-sum war of the Brown family civil conflict, being pro-CHR Christine inevitably positions her against Kody and Robin. Through her Patreon sessions, interviews, and public commentary, Milty validates her mother's long years of unhappiness, confirming that Kody was largely absent as a husband and father long before the family's move to Flagstaff. She confirms that Christine bore the weight of raising her 6 children largely alone, while simultaneously acting as a primary caregiver for many of Janelle's children. This isn't new information, but coming from Milty, a child once loyal and hopeful within the system, it is a crucial verification of a narrative Kody has long tried to reshape. She dismantles the on-screen story that painted Christine's dissatisfaction as sudden or inexplicable. Instead, her testimony confirms what many suspected. This unhappiness was years in the making, and it was rooted in Kody's consistent absence and emotional neglect. Milty's account extends to Robin as well. For years, she defended Robin among the older children, standing by her side with genuine affection and loyalty. But that stance has shifted. While she rarely attacks Robin with the vitriol of Pedon or Gwendlin, she no longer shields her. She speaks of Robin with measured disappointment, confirming that the tearful gestures and claims of outreach to other wives and children were often exaggerated or completely fabricated. She recalls the infamous porch incident, where Robin claimed Christine and Janelle had rejected her attempt at reconciliation. Kody explains calmly that the older children had, in fact, tried to connect for years, only to encounter repeated barriers, excuses, and orchestrated emotional performances designed for cameras rather than genuine reconciliation. An intriguing layer to Kody's transformation comes from her husband, Tony Pedon. Once dismissed as an outsider, Tony reportedly became a source of clarity and courage, offering her perspective unclouded by loyalty to the family's patriarchal hierarchy. By observing the overt favoritism and manipulations firsthand during family gatherings, Tony helped Kody see the truth. She didn't need to remain complicit in a system that rewarded deceit and demanded unwavering loyalty to Kody and Robin. With his support, she found the confidence to publicly validate her mother's choices, acknowledge the family dysfunction, and finally step outside the bubble of silence and complicity. Her testimony is thus doubly powerful. It is both personal and corroborative, a quiet but unwavering indictment of the family's new dynamics. It proves that even those once most loyal and hopeful could no longer deny the toxic reality that had taken root. And yet, as we analyze these revelations, we are faced with a haunting counterpoint: the silence of Robin's children, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna. In contrast to the deafening chorus of Christine's and Janelle's children, their conspicuous silence is itself a statement. In this public courtroom, their lack of voice is not absence, it is testimony, a silent affidavit of allegiance to a household where loyalty is demanded, dissent punished, and any cracks in the facade are carefully managed. Their silence speaks to the insular world Kody and Robin have built, a world sealed off from scrutiny, where control is absolute, and where communication across the invisible battle lines has all but vanished. The story of the Brown family, once a sprawling constellation of 18 children, is no longer a tale of laughter, chaos, and warmth. Today, it is a courtroom of hearts, a trial in the court of public opinion, and each child's voice, or silence, is a piece of damning evidence. Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna are no longer small children. They are young adults with social media, opinions, relationships, and autonomy. Yet publicly, they exist as ghosts. Their online presence is minimal, curated, carefully polished, always in the filtered light of their mother Robin's direction. In the face of damning allegations, accusations, and public scrutiny, they have never raised a word of defense. They have never reached across the invisible battlefield to comfort or acknowledge their siblings' pain. This wall of silence is absolute, unnaturally so in a family once celebrated for its chaotic interconnectedness. Observers, both fans and insiders, interpret this silence as a deliberate strategy. Kody and Robin's bubble, protective or controlling depending on perspective, shields these three children from the wider family while isolating them from criticism, dissent, and the truth of their father's divided affections. Kody and Robin have framed Dayton as neurodiverse, Aurora as prone to panic, and Brianna as vulnerable to the long shadow of CO rules. To them, they are precious, fragile, worthy of full-time attention, insulated from chaos. Yet according to the older children, this is not protection, it is a gilded cage. Every critique, every raised voice from the OG children is cast as a threat to Robin's children, fostering an us versus them mentality that divides the family irreparably. Rumors abound that social media and external communication are monitored, and that private conversations with the older siblings could be punished or viewed as disloyalty. Imagine the psychological weight. Young adults, biologically connected to their siblings, seeing public pain and accusations against their mother and father figure, yet forced into silence and complicity. Are they happy in this insulated world, or are they captives of a loyalty oath they never consciously signed? Their silence, so deafening, becomes proof of Kody and Robin's strategy. Position themselves as the sole protectors, provide undivided attention, and secure absolute loyalty. These children have grown knowing a father who is fully present for them, a father who once split his time among 15 others, but is now dedicated entirely to their small, monogamous unit. Their lives have materially and emotionally improved, and they have no reason, or perhaps no permission, to question the system that benefits them. Their silence is, in itself, testimony, the ultimate evidence of the new Brown family paradigm. Now contrast this with the children of Christine and Janelle, whose experiences form the mirror opposite. Christine's children, Aspen, Mykelti, Pedon, Gwendlin, Isabel, and Truly, witnessed firsthand the relentless labor, sacrifice, and quiet suffering of their mother. Long before cameras chronicled the family drama, Christine was the engine of the household, a single mother raising not only her 6 children but also aiding in the care of many of Janelle's. Kody's absence, his favoritism toward Robin and her children, and his dismissive attitude toward Christine became the norm. The move to Las Vegas was meant to equalize the wives, but instead magnified the inequities. Robin was integrated not as a partner, but as a queen, taking long private outings with Kody, while Christine's children watched. The infamous therapy moment where Kody openly expressed disgust at Christine's behavior became a public humiliation for the children, a moral lesson etched in their minds. The final breaking point, the moment that crystallized the divide, was Isabel's back surgery. A grueling, life-altering operation. Isabel needed her father. Christine needed her husband. But Kody chose Robin's comfort over his daughter's pain, citing COVID precautions and weeks-long quarantines. He drew a line in the sand. Isabel's agony and Christine's anguish came second. This decision is the ghost haunting every public statement of Christine's children, the wound behind Pedon's blunt accusations, Gwendlin's sharp-witted commentary, and Mykelti's quiet confirmations. The social media record amplifies this verdict. Christine's Instagram is a vibrant tapestry of a family thriving outside Kody's influence. 6 children, grandchildren, holidays, vacations, all together, joyful, complete. Kody's absence is palpable. The children didn't just choose their mother. They chose autonomy, love, and a life free from hierarchies that always placed them second. Janelle's children, Logan, Hunter, Madison, Garrison, Gabriel, and Savannah, present a parallel story. Their upbringing, though less dramatic in single moments, was equally fraught. Kody's attention shifted sharply to Robin's children, leaving Janelle's sons to navigate neglect, criticism, and emotional absence. The pandemic magnified this, transforming a slow erosion into undeniable estrangement. Birthdays forgotten, reprimands for normal adolescent independence, physical and emotional neglect. The RV where Janelle lived became a symbol of her place in the new hierarchy. Janelle's children, like Christine's, built their lives in parallel to the father who had abandoned them. Their loyalty shifted to each other and their mother, forming tight-knit units outside Kody's reach. Finally, we return to the silent witnesses, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna. Their allegiance was secured long before the pandemic, long before the move to Flagstaff. They were the children of the favored wife, recipients of undivided attention, love, and priority. Legal adoption, full-time presence, and protective insulation from external stressors ensured loyalty. From their perspective, life has been perfect. Their father is present, devoted, and undistracted. Their silence is not absence, it is affirmation. Every photo, every public post from Kody and Robin reinforces this reality. A nuclear family of 7, untouched by the chaos outside. They are citizens of a kingdom crafted in their favor, and the boundaries are clear. You are either with Kody and Robin, or you are outside. After examining the explosive declarations of Pedon, the meticulous prosecutorial dissection of Gwendlin, the corroborating confirmations of Mykelti, and the deafening, calculated silence of Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, the verdict is unanimous. Kody Brown has been found guilty by the court of public opinion of parental neglect, favoritism, and the deliberate emotional abandonment of the majority of his children. The sentence is estrangement. The sentence is fractured relationships. The sentence is holidays, birthdays, and milestones observed apart, or only through the filtered lens of social media. Robin Brown, co-defendant and architect of the micro-kingdom, is the catalyst, the manipulator who ensured her dominion, wielding tears, victimhood, and strategic affection as weapons. The Brown family, as once known, is gone. It was dismantled from within by favoritism, neglect, and the failure of a patriarch to balance his love and his legacy. Kody's empire of 18 children has been reduced to a kingdom of 7, leaving 13 estranged, loyal to their mothers and to each other, and bearing witness to the undeniable truth. The family is broken. The case is closed, the verdict delivered, and the court of public opinion has spoken.